I think subtle body language is a good topic because we all kind of understand the obvious displays of body language when they're really excessive, when they're really exaggerated. We quite often understand what teeth bared and like snarling and lunging all over the place is generally not a great sign that the dog is that happy, or if the dog's running away, fleeing and their tail's between their legs and they're urinating everywhere, they're probably scared. So we all seem to get the extremes, but it's the more subtle body language that can be the most helpful to read and to learn how to read. So what I try to do is I listen to dogs' whispers so they don't have to shout. That's my way of looking at it. If you can learn to read their whispers and their quiet conversation that they have that often gets missed, then they never have to shout in order to get their point across. So there are things that I will teach you to look for. The main thing to remember, anything body language wise or dog communication wise, is it is very, very relevant to the situation. It's like context is so important. So what can mean one thing at one time can also mean a different thing at another time, or within a different social situation, or within a different setting. So it's not hard and fast rule. It doesn't mean that was a big one, wasn't it? Oh, he's still asleep. He didn't notice. That's a huge firework then. It doesn't always mean that this is definitely the case every single time. So you may hear me talk about a particular body language signal that comes up and you think, well, that doesn't apply to my dog because when he does that, it's followed by something good or something bad. And that's because that's specific to your dog and that situation. So there will be things that are very, very relevant and you'll be able to pick out on them, but hopefully I'm going to be able to give you some things to look for in your dog so that in social situations and when your dog is showing body language or reading body language, you're going to know to look for these things. And then you'll be able to identify them and perhaps be able to read a dog conversation a bit better. So one of the important things to look at is when dogs are communicating with humans or other dogs, is it is like a conversation. So they absorb information and they respond. So the way that we would sort of speak and say hello to someone, dogs do that from quite far away, and they can do it from other side of the road, other side of a field, because they're predominantly scent driven. So their sense of smell is their primary sense. Therefore, they're aware that someone or something is in the environment and how far away it is, usually before we're aware that it's there. And they start their communication there. So that conversation starts from the moment they're aware that the person or thing is in the environment, particularly if they're not confident with it or not comfortable around that particular person or thing, then the communication starts very, very early on. If there's anything that doesn't make sense, please do write in the comments for me to repeat it or rephrase it, and I will do that. So everything's got to take context into consideration. So we'll talk about humans as well. So humans first. We tend to walk in straight lines. So think the Romans. The Romans built the roads, as far as I'm aware, and it's in order to get places in straight lines, to get there quickly. Everything about our life and our world is how fast can I get it? If you think about our internet connection, our TV programs, our phones, the way we work, our cars, every single thing that we do is all to do with speed. It's about getting it now. Dogs are the opposite. They prefer to take their time with things. They prefer everything to be much slower. Things to be done in curves and arcs and in a much more kind of windy approach to things. So everything in the dog and animal world, to be fair, not necessarily just the dog world, but in the animal world, it's very slow. And everything is sort of taking its time, making sure that both parties are completely comfortable with an interaction before it goes further. The only times where speed and direct lines are used in the dog world is when there is either stress or threat and potentially aggression needs to be used, or when they are fleeing from something that they're frightened of. They do not use speed and direct lines, straight lines otherwise. So that can often be why dogs lose their communication skills through living with humans, because everything we do is sudden, everything is very quick, it's very straight lined, it's very direct, and we will put that onto them as well, just through natural life, because we have to have them on leads, or because, good boy, because we kind of take them, usually, oh look, there's our friend, let's go over and see them, and we walk right at them. Everything that we do it's just really, really quick and really straight lines, and that causes a lot of problems, and it causes dogs to lose their communication skills. Some dogs actually have to be retaught how to use them. Some dogs never develop them either, depending on their situation, to do with their mum, when they were taken away from their mum, if there were puppies in the litter or not, what age they were taken away from that litter, and then the environment they're placed into. Some never actually develop very good social skills at all. So to be taught secondary social skills by a human actually means their social skills are quite naff. So again, breed comes into it too. So you have some breeds who are more sudden, you have some breeds who are more physical when they play, when they interact, when they say hello, when they get excited. They're just physical. And you get some breeds and sometimes that are not physical at all. In fact, they despise physical contact of any kind, and they're quite they're happy with personal space, and that's them as a breed, as a type, or as an individual. You can get obviously individuals like that within breed types who enjoy close physical contact too. But that's why we can get into conflicts between dogs on walks, because so many breeds are different and types are different, and they've had different handling, they've got different freedom abilities depending on what their owner is happy with, depending on where we are. And the dogs then have to try and make do, basically. So this is why sometimes, again, the body language you see, you think it means one thing, but in a different situation it can mean something else. And that is because of the situation that they are in, and because of the dog that they are also communicating with, or the person they're also communicating with. So if you take children, for example, children are very sudden. They make sudden, straight line movements, much, much quicker than adults do. And they're usually quite noisy. They are kind of terrifying if you were at face height for a child, which a lot of dogs are, or they're smaller than even. So this is why you have to even be more careful with communication between dogs and children. If the dog is not used to being around children and understands that that's just them, that's just the way that they are, they're sudden, they're quick, they're lively, they're noisy, and they drop things and they throw things about, and that's just the way that they are, and it doesn't mean threat. So quite often dogs can act fearfully or aggressively towards children because they perceive it as a threat, because they don't understand that that's normal and natural for a child to be that way. So let me just check my notes. As always, I make lots of notes for you guys because I like to make sure that I get everything across. So everything in the human world, very, very rushed, very straight lines. We want it here, we want it now, and then we put that onto the dogs. And that is the way that we then tend to make their social interactions happen as well. Likewise, when people come to the house, you think the door goes, we all get up, we rush to the front door to go and open it. So that in itself causes a huge amount of excitement, arousal and concern around the front door, particularly if you have guarding breeds or anxious dogs. And then we open the door and then it's lots and lots of noise. Hello, there's loads of physical contact. There's people suddenly coming in straight lines, walking towards the dog. And that often can cause dogs to become concerned and to use their body language in that way, whether it may be to remove themselves or to get the person to calm down or to remove themselves. It's quite common for dogs to have issues with strangers coming in the home, or even just people coming in the home, yet they may be fine with them out on a walk. And a lot of that is just due to the suddenness, the quickness of it, the noisiness, and how we are. So I've kind of sectioned it off into, there's low level communication and then there's warning level communication. So you may have heard of some of these before, and low level communication is it's often called calming signals. These were termed this by Terid Rugas, depends how you say it, I'm probably saying it wrong. She has a great book called On Talking Terms with Dogs, and she is brilliant. She describes a lot about the way dogs communicate with people and with dogs, and I do recommend you buy her book. I will link it into the Facebook group later, so that you can have a look if it is something you're interested in. But she watches dogs. She's a very big believer in watching them, having them being free, and seeing the way that they naturally interact with each other. So calming signals are something that she noticed, and calming signals are communication between dogs, or between dog and human, and it is a way of either calming a situation down or showing that you are no threat, showing that you mean no harm, or that you just want it to go a little bit calmer, a little bit slower, and for gathering information. So there's low level signals there, and then we have the warning signals, which I'll talk about in a minute. So there's believed to be at least 30 different calming signals, which is a huge amount. So this is a huge, wide range of ways that dogs try to communicate in a conversation with other dogs. So low level communication, it can be used to self-calm. So that can be if the dog feels that they are overexcited or over aroused in a social situation, they can use some of these low level signals to calm themselves down. It can be used to communicate to another dog or human to calm down because they are being too much, or they're moving too quickly, or they're just too close. And it's just to communicate there's no threat. Slow everything down, there's no threat. Lisa's read the book. Yes, yeah. I remember. I think I recommended that to you with Boo, who's Kai, and yeah, it is a really, really good book. It's great. It's great to have a refresher of as well if you still have it handy. Have a reread because I love that book. So dogs use calming signals, gather more information, calm themselves down, calm another dog down, and generally keep a situation really nice and neutral. Dogs like neutral. So yes, play happens. Some dogs can slip more easily into play than others. Some have play as their default setting and they love to play. Others are quite willing to play with other dogs. Some like to initiate play, some like others to initiate play first. And some will only play with good friend dogs, ones they have trust with and who they can read really well and who read them really well. And other kind of initiations for play from another dog, they often don't like that. And that can be seen as a threat because they're not ready for that in their relationship yet. And some dogs don't play at all. Some dogs have no understanding of how to play with another dog, or even with a human. And just physical contact and interaction for them is a no-go. It either freaks them out or they just aren't comfortable with it. So which is fine. You know, they don't have to be comfortable with it. It's like you get the same in humans. And I think we can often forget this, is that you do get your introverts as humans. You get those who are quite happy to go home, read a book, stay in the quiet. I'm actually a real quiet lover. Mother half thinks it's weird. I tend to, I don't put the lights on much. I don't have the TV on unless I'm watching it. I tend to work quite quietly. I can do that for about 10 hours. And although when I'm with people who I have a relationship with, I am chat. You know, I'm very vocal and social, and I enjoy that. But I also enjoy time on my own as well. And when it comes to strangers, I'm not often that social, and I'm certainly not very like physical with them or anything, you know. Whereas we all tend to expect dogs to be great with every single dog that they meet, every single person that they meet, to be completely comfortable with close-up social interactions with people and with dogs who they've never met, and people have got their hands all over them and stroking them, and you know, they've got dogs coming into their space before they've been given permission to, or before they're relaxed enough for that. And we want them to be okay with it and expect them to be okay with it. And that's not really very fair, because it's dogs living in our world as well, which is already hard enough for them. But it's also, not all humans are like that. Of course you do get your really, really over-friendly people who absolutely love everybody, and you know, they just can't be on their own. They don't like their own company. They love to be around people. They're chatty, they're outgoing. This is my other half. And you know, and you just get opposites. So dogs are very much the same, very, very much the same. But the communication that dogs use, the calming signals, the warning signals, the body language they use is universal. So it is recognised around the world of dogs, no matter where they come from. And this is what Turid Rugger speaks about in her book as well, that the dogs in Norway understand the dogs in England. And wherever they may be from, they all have the same body language. So it is understood. So once you understand your dog's body language, you can start to learn and understand other dogs' body language too. And you can apply that and start watching for it and knowing what you're looking for. So low-level communication, as I said, used to calm things down, used to diffuse situations, used to calm themselves down, and for gathering information. So these look like lip licking. So when the dog flicks their tongue up to their nose, they can do this as well if they see food, by the way. So again, context is important. If the dog is anticipating food, they will lick their nose usually, or lick their lips in some form. So it can look like that. When it's a calming signal, generally it's a quick out and in. So it's an out and in. It's not as long, and there's no dribbling with it usually. So the drooling that you get when there's food, that's because the jaw's relaxed. Lip licking through communication and calming signals, there's usually no drooling at all, unless you happen to have a jowly Mastiff or a St Bernard or something where they're always dribbling. And they will lick their nose. So it's believed as well that there is a lot of scent gathered like that. So if they can smell the air and smell another dog, and they're gathering information through scent, they will lick it to their nose in order to trap it, so they can gather even more. But it is recognised by other dogs and used as a way of communicating to just slow it down, I'm gathering information still. Blinking and avoiding eye contact. Now this is quite a big one. So dogs will often soft blink and they will look away and then look back again, or they will avoid eye contact. So they might be approaching someone or something but not looking straight at them. And the reason for that is, in the dog world, staring is a hard signal, it's a warning signal. Again, breeds. Some breeds are more predisposed to doing this, such as your collies, your shepherds, your herders, kelpies. They will stare all day long, and that is because they've been designed to stare at movement. So if it moves, I stare at it. So that can be why a lot of dogs are not keen on them and will more likely react at a herding breed than another breed of dog or type of dog, because they're staring already. They're starting a problem already, because natural communication between dogs says that you avoid eye contact and you look and then you look away. Like with humans, I suppose. If you see someone in a pub, maybe, you don't just stare at the person that you see, because it's conflict, it's, you know, it's weird, and it's like there's a problem already. So if someone's staring at you, it makes you feel quite, you know, uncomfortable, really. So soft blinking, looking away, avoiding eye contact, and keeping everything quite, you know, low level, neutral, that is a calming signal. So that is the dog just trying to diffuse. It's basically the dog saying, I want a bit more space. So if they're looking away, certainly lookaways are, I want more space. So blinking and sort of avoiding eye contact is just slow it down. I'm no threat, calm it down. If the dog is actually looking away, what they're doing is looking for exit routes because they're not comfortable. So if they're not comfortable, then that's the looking away is them trying to indicate that they're looking for an exit route and they want a way out. Some dogs will automatically look for a way out as soon as they enter a social situation of any kind. And remember, that can be from across a field. That can be, you know, a very, very far distance. It's as soon as they're aware of another being in the area, they might straight away go, how can I escape? That's a dog who needs more confidence building and more social skill building and needs more time, more distance, more space, and a lot more honouring of the fact that they're looking away. Likewise, dogs who stare probably need a lot more time and a lot more space in order to break the stare, and then that means moving forward so that they're not getting themselves into trouble, because other breeds and other types may not be reading that well. So I'm just reading your comments, sorry, that I'm a little bit behind. When I speak, my mouth isn't moving at the same time. I don't know how to fix this. I'm not that great with technology, and I feel if I try to do anything, it's either going to make it worse or it's going to come off. So what I'll do is save this as I do, and I'll reshare it into the group. So if it's really frustrating you and annoying you, turn it off, I'll save it and you can watch this later. So don't stress yourself out with it. Yeah, other signals. So as I said, herding breeds tend to stare quite a lot. They can get quite obsessed with movement. They can get quite obsessive about interactions. So for them, it's very helpful to have a lot of emphasis and a lot of reinforcement based around looking away. However, herders with other herders tend to be okay. They tend to understand the body language more so, which again is a breed type thing. So you tend to find that breed types understand other breed types. The way they play, the way they interact, the way that they communicate, again, quite universal, because they're used to that being their way. That is like their breed type. So herders aren't often bothered by herders, but other dogs generally are. If they stare, they don't like it. So Rebecca says, Obi loves a stare but does look away and back after the first greeting with the dog. Good. So we're getting look away. So yeah, staring, he's a shepherd cross, so staring, very important for the shepherd types. And Lisa says, Boo on the staring. Yeah, so Boo is a Rottie, and Rotties can stare. So that is because they are original herders as well. They are herders of like your bulls and your bigger things. So staring for movement is a very big thing in the Rottie world. So anyway, sorry, I digress. The lifting of a paw. Now, quite often people can see this as a gesture for play, and it can be. So if you have like a batting at another dog, that can be play, particularly if you have a boxer, because they like to box. Funnily enough, they stand on their hind legs, they smash other dogs in the face. Ridgebacks can be very paw happy. Shepherds can be very paw happy. Quite often dogs who are paw happy and they like to like smack other dogs in the head or like thunder down on the top of them, that comes from social frustration usually, or being on lead because they can't quite get to the dog, so they do this instead and the legs get to the dog. It can be a form of scent marking. So dogs have scent glands in their pads, and they will often do this to their humans, where they will accidentally on purpose stamp all over their feet. Now, who has a stamper? I have a stamper. So when he gets excited, when I come home, I get stamps all over my feet. Quite a lot of my dogs have done this actually. It's quite, Pudge used to be the worst, my Springer. He would literally stamp all over my feet all the time. And a lot of it is scent marking. So it's mine, 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 mine is what you're getting there. But some dogs will do that to other dogs. And that's not the most polite thing to do, nor is batting another dog in the face, but quite often that is done in a more playful manner and in a way of instigating some kind of play or interaction. Scent marking on another dog can be where the paw goes on the shoulders and it stays there, or it goes on their head and it stays there. There's no kind of baton coming off, it's on them. And that can actually be very threatening to another dog. And that is it's to do with their scent glands, and it's to scent mark on them. So dogs have scent glands in their shoulders, and this is why you get rolling. So you get rolling on things. People often think it's to put the yucky poo on the dog, but actually it's to put their scent on the scent of the poo or whatever it may be that they're rolling onto. It's to scent mark themselves onto it. Sarah Whitehead does a brilliant seminar about this. I believe it's a webinar online you can watch as well. If I find it, I'll link it for you. But it is, so scent glands, scent is huge in the dog world, as I say. It's huge. So we often go by sight, dogs go by scent. So, so Lisa's got a licker, and Obi does a full-on butt sit on the feet. And butt sitting again, sorry for the grossness, dogs are dogs. They have their anal glands, it's called anal swiping, which again, another Sarah Whitehead treat. They anal swipe, which is where they can either swipe it against your legs or they will sit on your feet and they will scent mark you. So that again is mine, 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 mine. Now that quite often happens in social situations when there's either another person in the house or they are mixing with another dog. They will sit or stand all over their owner's feet. Okay. So, yeah, the sitting or standing on owner's feet is a scent marking thing. So that's why Obi does it. Thank you, darling. Is a scent marker. And the licking, again, is scent. So some dogs will lick obsessively because that's called clan odour. They want everyone in the house to smell the same. So particularly if you've been away somewhere, if you've been out, or if they are trying to relax themselves sometimes, they will lick everybody. And they want everybody to smell the same and to smell like the dog. I apologise if the fireworks here are setting your dog off at home. They're quite loud here. I'm not sure if you can hear them, but they are pretty noisy above my house. This is the first year we've been in this house with fireworks, so I had no idea how it was going to be. So, thankfully, dog now asleep on the bed over there. I'm not bothered. So, yes, scent marking is huge. So, I started off by saying about paws. So, lifting of a paw. If a dog is standing or sitting and they just raise their paw slightly, so it's like this far off the ground, and they keep it there, that's a sign of anxiety, a sign of appeasement, and the dog is not comfortable at all. So you quite often see that in nervous dogs, dogs who aren't confident in social situations, or dogs if they think they're going to be told off, or if they think you're going to become angry, or if you're stressed or you're being stressy at that time, even if it's not directed at them, but it's in general. Quite often they can lift a paw up and it's an appeasement gesture. So I'm not saying, you know, I'm no threat. People often see it as a way of a dog saying sorry. I hate to break it to you, dogs don't have a concept of sorry. In order for a dog to have a concept of sorry, they would have to have wrong. And dogs have no concept of wrong whatsoever, because that's a human thing. It's a human concept. And what I believe is wrong is not what you may believe is wrong, and what may not be what my neighbour believes is wrong. It's a human concept that's very fluid between humans. Dogs do not understand it, they cannot process it, therefore they cannot say sorry or have gestures like that. What they have is appeasement gestures. So they read your body language, they can smell and sense the odours that you're giving off. So if you're getting cortisol releases in your body, if you're getting adrenaline in your body, if you're crying, if you're distressed, they smell that, they understand that, and they respond. And that is why you can often get excessive licking, avoiding eye contact, lifting a paw, all the things where people tend to say the dog knows they've done wrong, or they look like they're sorry. That is all the dog's responding to you and the way that you currently smell, look, and are being. So I thought that was a helpful bit of information there to throw in there. So lifting a paw, it's a sign of being uncomfortable, anxious, or a dog trying to appease. It may be towards another dog, it may be towards you, it could be about the environment, they could just be stressed in the environment. Perhaps it's noisy, perhaps it's stressful, perhaps they just don't feel confident, and so their foot is in the air and they need help. That is, your dog needs help. Sniffing the ground. So sniffing is good. Again, dogs, scent, very, very, very scent orientated. I like to encourage them to sniff the ground. It's brilliant. I like to follow the dog wherever the dog's nose goes, as long as they're not walking in straight lines, because remember, straight lines, they don't lead to anything good. Human concept, not a dog one. So if they're sniffing the ground, they're gathering information, which is good. If they suddenly need to pay attention to the floor, I don't know if anyone has oh, look at the shiny thing on the floor that I suddenly have to look at kind of a dog. So, you know, they'll see another dog and then they go, oh, look at the blades of grass over there. That's them trying to communicate and start a conversation with the other dog. I'm no threat, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm good at this distance, we're good. And just communicating from a very far distance. So sniffing is good. The more you can encourage your dogs to sniff, the better. It's really good for them, it's good for their social conversations, and it's good for calming them down as well. The sniffing and walking slowly, sometimes dogs will slow right down and start sniffing. That is them trying to say, I don't really want to go over there. Being over there seems quite scary, or like a situation I don't want to be a part of. They might not be frightened of it, they just might not want to go into it. So if a dog slows down and starts sniffing, have a scan round, see, is there people or dogs suddenly appeared in the environment? Is there a busy road ahead? Is there something that could potentially be scary or noisy or annoying for the dog here. So the slowing to sniff could just be this interesting stuff on the floor. It's more often than not a communication, which again is why I like to do follow the dog. Where the dog goes, I go. And I like to stop if they stop. So wherever they stop, I'll stop, and I wait and see what they're choosing to do. Because if you stop when they stop, and then you see a full on looking for an exit route, your dog is trying to communicate they don't want to go forward anymore. So that can be, again, you see all these things you have to look for. You're looking for all these things in a conversation between two dogs, or between a dog and a person when they see them. And it's so often missed because we just see what's ahead and just keep walking. And, come on, dog. And off we go. And all the communication and the conversation the dog's trying to have gets missed. It's just completely not taken in. So there's lots and lots to look at and to observe, and bits that you might want to reward in there as well, with either movement forward, movement away, rewarding, standing still, depending on what it is you're working on with your dog. It could be really helpful to break it down and slow it down so that you can reward the bits you want. So noisy places tend to trigger a lot of calming signals and slower movements and behaviours, unless your dog is fleeing. If they're a panicker, they might be bolting more so. Hi Kaz, thanks for joining. You might get more of a bolting forward and a fleeing motion, like the sudden motion. So generally that's like nervousness, anxiety. That's it's not so much communication as more, let's go, let's leave from here. But quite often if dogs are sensing they're going to be approaching somewhere scary or frightening or noisy or a situation they don't want to be in, they'll slow down. So allowing them to pick the pace and pick the route could be really helpful. Yawning. Now, yawning, of course, if a dog is tired, they will yawn. So that doesn't count. But yawns which are loud and exaggerated, so their mouth goes, ah, and like really opens up yawning. I could get a million videos of Bosun doing this. He's the world's noisiest yawner ever. And he will actually do it when he wants you to do something for him and he's not getting his own way. Usually it's get off my chair, and if you're not getting off the chair, you get these big exaggerated loud yawns. They're often used when a dog is either frustrated or if they are stressed. So if you're seeing over-exaggerated, noisy yawns or just wide yawns, they might be quiet. Some dogs aren't vocal particularly, so if they're quiet yawns but they're quite open-mouthed, that can actually be a signal that the dog is stressed and they need to get out of that situation. Or that they're frustrated. So try and think about what could be causing this for them. It could be there's a lot of rough play going on and they're trying to communicate that they're not keen on that, they don't really like it. So perhaps either a person or a dog is playing too roughly with them, so you get these yawns. So if you see a yawn in combination with other calming signals that we've spoken about, it's likely that the dog is not enjoying that situation and that they want to get out of it in some way. So glad that you said that, Kaz. So my next one on my list is the shaking off. So a shake off as though a dog is wet. So it's starting from the nose and then flowing down the body to the tail in a full-on shake off. That is a sign that the dog is letting go of stress. So what that means is, yes, there was a point they were stressed at and they've now let go of it. It can be when they've just passed a dog, so they've had a conversation, they've had a passing, and now the dog is gone, they do a shake off. It can be they're playing with another dog and it's getting a bit rough and a bit tense, so there'll be a bit of a natural break, or they will try to break and do a shake off. So that is trying to let go of stress and trying to communicate like, oh wow, that was hard work, but I've let it go. Now, often in dogs who don't have the best play skills, you'll have one dog trying to do a shake off at the same time the other one comes in and clamps them in the head again to play with them. That is the other dog not having the best social skills because they're not reading. They're not reading and responding that the other dog needs a break and that they're doing a shake off. Good lad. That they're shaking some of their stress off. So yes, a shake off is not a sign they're stressed at the moment, but it's a sign that there was stress or there has been stress and they're trying to let it go. So if you're noticing lots of shake-offs, it is a good thing that they're shaking it off because they're trying to let it go, but it's not great because that situation is obviously stressful for them. So if you're seeing quite a lot of them, I would think if there's anything I could change about the social interaction or the environment or the situation in the future so that that doesn't happen again. Shake-offs are completely normal, completely natural, and I reward them and reinforce them because I know that when they shake off, they let go of stress, and I want to see more of it, particularly when I'm working with fearful dogs, reactive dogs, anxious dogs, and just noisy dogs as well. If they can let go of their stress, then they're not trigger stacking as much. They're not getting stressed by one thing and then another thing and then another thing and then reacting. What they're doing is getting stressed by one thing and then another thing and then shaking it off. And then they get stressed by one thing and another thing and shaking it off. So do you see? It's easier for them to cope with things when they're letting go of stress. Some dogs will only do a shake off when they get home after a walk, or if a guest has been in, when the guest has left, they will do a shake off and they'll let it go. But they hold on to stress and tension for a very, very long time. So what you want to kind of do is encourage them if you can, or give them more breaks. Definitely, if there is a stressful time for your dog, you want to give them more breaks so that they're not around it so long, so that it is a quick interaction rather than a prolonged one. Obi shakes when he can't pull, and when we stop, when we do loose lead walking. Is that frustration? Yes, it could be frustration. So if it's a full body shake off, it could be that he is frustrated. It could be that he needs to keep moving as well. So again, a form of frustration. He needs to keep on the move. You humans are too slow, and I'm a shepherd and I like to walk really, really quickly. I like to run and I can't. So I shake off and then I go again. It can be a lot of things. So shake-offs can be for different reasons, but if you're finding in the place you're walking him in, there's a particular high volume of frustrations or stressors, he may be shaking himself off due to the environment as opposed to because he's having to loose lead walk, unless he finds loose lead walking particularly stressful, in which case doing less of that and the more of the freedom time would be a good balance for him. So warning signals. So when all of the calming signals are not working properly, so they're either not working, someone isn't listening to them, or there's not enough time to give all of the calming signals and to gather all of the information that is needed in order to have a good conversation with another dog or person that's going to create a nice environment and a nice conversation there. Dogs then use warning signals instead. So warning signals are generally only used when calming signals haven't worked, when they've not been seen, not been used, not been listened to, sorry. So if you think about it, so if you've ignored or not seen or have not been aware of lip licking, slowing down, sniffing at the ground, avoiding eye contact, lifting a paw maybe, yawning, looking for exit routes. If you haven't seen these happen, perhaps the social interaction has happened too quickly before you've been able to watch for this, or before your dog has had opportunity to give any of these signals. That happens a lot. You know, a dog may run over to you, a person comes around a corner, someone gets out of the car, you know, someone rushes in the house, oh I need a wee, and they rush in the house and they come in really, really quickly rather than normally, slowly, calmly. So this can often be when you get warning signals. And warning signals are the dog warning you or warning someone or something. If this carries on, I may bite. Biting is where I'm heading to, and I'm trying to warn you and I'm trying to get you to stop what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. Stop it. I don't want to have to bite you. That is what a warning signal is. It can sound counterproductive. I absolutely love warning signals if dogs are giving them when they feel uncomfortable. Obviously, I'd much prefer they didn't feel uncomfortable. Of course I would. I would rather they could give the communication, keep themselves happy and neutral. But if a dog feels there's conflict, or they feel they are unhappy or uncomfortable, or they feel another party is not listening to them, I love warning signals, because warning signals mean the dog is trying to not bite you or not bite someone or something. The more a display happens, the more the dog is trying to give more and more warning. Now, some dogs are great at this. Some dogs will, they will give you all of the warning signals. I'll talk you through some of them. So whale eye is one. Now, anyone who has a resource guarding dog, or a dog who's not comfortable with other dogs necessarily being in there close to them, will be aware of what whale eye is. So this is where the dogs look up at you. So they almost lower their head and they look up, and you can see the whites of their eyes, or they might look at you out the side of their eyes. So what this is the dog needing to keep an eye on you or on someone or something because they don't trust it. So if you're getting eyes and there's staring and there's no blinking, and the dog is keeping very, very close eye on something, you see a lot of white going on. Some people actually describe it as like a devil stare. And it is. It's the dog warning you as best they possibly can to pack it in. Stop doing what you're doing because I don't like it. That's what they're trying to say with that stare. Some dogs will do growling, which is a noise that you can hear, which happens in the throat. So dogs can growl even if they're muzzled. The growling happens in here. So quite often you will hear growling of different degrees. Some have a very low growl, which is short. Some have a very long, deep, big growl. And they will growl again to tell you to stop doing what you're doing. I don't like it. So growls are good. Growls prevent aggression. Growls are trying to communicate to stop it because I don't want to have to use my weapons. Weapons being the teeth. Dogs carry their weapons with them everywhere that they are. So they're always there and they are their best form of defence. And when they show teeth, that is them literally showing weapons off. So them going, look at all of these. I don't want to have to use these, but you're pushing it. Stop pushing it. So dogs who show teeth, they might show all of them, or they might just show like the front ones. You know, you get the Elvis lip going on. Some of them will do that, and that is the same thing. So it's a quick stop it. You know, it's a brief show of teeth. Sometimes you see adult dogs do this to young pups, so they'll just quick show them the teeth, and they're like, stop it. Again, teeth showing is a way of trying to get. It's an extreme show of stop doing what you're doing because my next thing is to bite you. And if you're not listening to me now, you're going to get it. If all of these are ignored, so they've gone through their calming signal bit, or maybe a social interaction has happened too quickly, or a dog is not listening to their body language, or a person is not listening to their body language or their communication, so they're having to escalate into warning signals now because the initial ones were not listened to, you then get growling, you get snarling, you get lots of staring and uncomfortable looking behaviour. Everything looks very stiff and very tense. There's no blinking, there's no fluid sort of motion. Things happen suddenly and rapidly, they can, but it's not fluid. It's not like diving around in play, which can be wiggly and divey all over the place. It's very sudden movements, and they're generally not good. So all of these are to give warning to prevent conflict. Dogs who are aggressive and who enjoy being aggressive do not give warnings because they actually enjoy the act of biting, grabbing hold, shaking, causing harm to something or to kill something. So dogs who actually enjoy being aggressive do not give you the growling, the snarling, all the calming signals, all the warning, because what warnings are is to get you to stop doing what you're doing, or to get a dog to stop doing what they're doing. So if you have an extreme display of reactive behaviour from a dog, maybe you're caring for, or who is your dog, and your dog is lunging and barking on lead and snapping and snarling all over the place, that is actually a huge display of I am not comfortable, I do not like this, I need more space, or I need you to go away. That is what the dog is trying to communicate. And I'm not saying they will not bite in that scenario, they will, but their intention and their want and their desire is not aggression. Their want and their desire is to be away. Because dogs who don't want to be away from another dog or from a person or want to harm them don't tend to give much warning. They just go clamp because they enjoy it. So That's an interesting bit. So if you're getting warnings, there's a clear sign the dog's uncomfortable with something and they want more space. Now, some dogs can go from calming signal with other dog. If you take play, for example, so you've got two dogs playing and it's getting a bit rough, and one of them goes to do a shake off and the other one doesn't listen, it bats back into them again. You may hear a growl and a snap of teeth, and then they come back again, then they can play again. Usually there'll be another shake off from both dogs in the middle there, because they'll go, "Ooh, okay, sorry, too much, my bad." They'll do shake offs and then they'll go together again. So it can go from calming signal into warning signal back into play again. You can get that because dogs are fluid. As long as there's a conversation happening and the other dog is responding to them, that can happen. Humans aren't so great at that. Humans tend to get offended or feel personally attacked by a dog if they growl at them or if they don't like something that they're doing, almost like it's an insult on your personality or something. It's just communication. The dogs are just trying to talk and they have very limited ways they can talk. Just have some of my drink a minute. Right. Can you hear those fireworks going off? My God, they're loud. So the best way of keeping your dog social with people and with other dogs is to mix them with people and dogs who listen, who have good communication skills. Now, some of you may have realised I don't tend to interact with your dogs too much. So if we're in a session, particularly if I know your dog isn't comfortable with human interaction, I will tend to keep my hands to myself. I will let them sniff me. And as I shared in the group, earlier this week, I did share in the Facebook group a meme picture about keeping your hands to yourself, because putting your hand out to a dog for them to sniff you actually invades their space, and they haven't had any chance for that conversation to happen and for them to get to learn about you before your hand is right here. And to be honest, you're putting your hand right next to all their weaponry. You're going, "Here, have this." And they can smell you from across a field. They don't need your hand. They're very, very able to learn about you from just being stood near them. So I'm quite happy to allow dogs to sniff me, get to know me, and for them, if they push for attention, they really want it, I'm happy to touch them and stroke them, but I don't tend to keep it too long. 3 seconds of something of stroking and keep my hands to myself, I'm fine with that. I don't need to overdo it because I know dogs aren't comfortable and it doesn't give them the opportunity to communicate again. If my hands stay on a dog like this, I'm not listening to any further communication that's coming from them. I'm assuming that because they came near me, they want my hands all over them, they want me scent marking all over them with my hands, and that they want that attention continuously, which is hell of an assumption to make from a dog you've never met. So I do tend to keep my hands to myself, and this is often why dogs are quite comfortable in my presence. I'm not saying like we're besties as soon as we're around each other, but they're quite happy to be around me because I don't intrude their space. And if I notice a lot of calming signals or any warning signals, I will move myself further away and I will comment on the fact that I'm seeing them. So I'm quite happy to do that. I also tend to will keep my body to the side of a dog. So rather than being stood face forward on at them, I will stand like this usually and chat to the owner and try and keep my body on the side, just to show that I'm not interacting, no threat, you know, you're good around me. So the more you can mix your dogs with people who understand dog and who aren't, "I'm a dog person, I love dogs, here, have my hand and my fuss." That's not someone who understands dogs. The more that they're around people who do listen and who do respond, the less they have to use warning signals, the more comfortable they feel, the more they feel they can communicate and learn about you, and then the more friendly they become, or the more social, or the other way, the more relaxed they become. Some dogs are really OTT with other dogs and other people because they feel the other person or other dog is going to interact with them. So because they're going to have hands all over them, or they're going to have this play situation with another dog, they will almost get in there first, and they can be really OTT with another dog or with a person, like leaping all over them and loads of scent marking. And that is often a learned behaviour because they're used to, that is the way people and dogs communicate with them. So if they feel that's the way they're going to be communicated with, they try and get it out of the way as quickly as they can and be like la 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 all over someone or something, and then it almost makes them feel better that it's done quickly and it's over with. I'm just going to read your comments quickly there. So Ruby started to tell dogs off if they come too near, the bigger ones especially. Yeah, so Ruby's not comfortable and confident with bigger dogs being near her. So if they come to her and she's not ready for that communication, she's telling them to go away. And she's within her rights to do that. If calming signals haven't worked, they've not read them from the point they were at and they've entered her space, she has no options left. She's got to say, right, I've got to warn you now, go away, get out of my space, I don't like it. And that's fine. You probably find the other dog will go, all right, sorry, my bad, and then off they'll go. It's unusual for a dog to have a go back and to react back at another dog unless they're quite insecure themselves. Quite often a dog will just go, whoops, my mistake, and then off they'll go. Because they actually want social interaction, that's why they've approached. And if it's not going to come from that dog, they'll get out of the way, usually. Obi does this with this huge display when he bumps into other entire males, lots of lunging and barking. The regular dog walkers we know have explained why and they understand. Yeah, entire males and entire males in the same area. Again, this is a human-made problem because we all have houses on top of each other. We have roads and paths which we have to walk on. We have all the dogs on lead and then we put them near each other. And as they're growing up or as they see each other, they pick up on them, they smell them, it aggravates them. There's females in season, in heat that they can smell, and that makes their tolerance for entire males drop through the floor. So they then come into contact with each other and they have a big shouting match, and that then becomes the habit of what they do. So what they actually want is that other entire male to be right out of the way. Get out of my area, I do not want you here. Which is another, as I say, they actually don't want them to be there. They don't want to be anywhere near them, they don't like them. But because they are there and they can see each other and they can smell each other, you will get all the big display, the lunging, the barking, the snapping, the snarling, because they do not want that dog near them or in that area. So that is a form of go away, get out of my space. Unfortunately, they all live together, they all live in the same area. You can't, they're not going to go anywhere. There is ways of working around entire males. Actually doing this with 2 dogs on a current programme for entire male work because it's not easy owning a dog who doesn't like entire males, particularly if there's a lot in the area, but it's a common one. So Lisa says, me on the other side of a fence with Pupster. Yeah, because we know that Lisa's boy is not keen on humans when they walk away from him. So it's a very specific issue, but in order to be safe so I could see what Lisa was talking about, we used a solid fence that was in between so that I could say, right, relax your lead, be as natural as possible, and we're going to practice just standing and chatting, being near, which was okay, fine with that, fine with us chatting, fine with us moving about. As soon as my back was turned, oh wow, did we not like that. But that's a specific issue. So yeah, and again, what he's doing is shouting, he's lunging, he's barking, he's saying, get out of my space. Or in his case, could well have been the frustration at the fact that we didn't interact, as I said. But that's a very specific issue. That's, yeah, we don't often need to use fences, but sometimes I like to, particularly if it's a Rottweiler on the other side. Just for safety. So, green flags in play and interactions. So things that agree, there's red flags and green flags in play and interaction with both humans and dogs. What you want is more green flags than red flags. So green flags are loose, wiggling. Yes, it is fireworks, Kaz. Can you hear that? How loud that is. I do apologise if they're setting your dogs off, but they're so loud over here. I honestly didn't know what they'd be like, but now I know. Apparently really noisy. He's still asleep. He's over here fast asleep. He's got no idea they're even going off, I don't think. Woohoo! In fact, yesterday we had some go off, and I gave him, I had potatoes on my plate that were really yummy and they were cooked in nice stuff, and he was just laying there, but one went off quite loud, so I went, oh well done, and gave him one of them because he'd acknowledged it, and he didn't bark. It was great, he wasn't bothered. So I'm hoping that kind of has helped as well, that I wasn't bothered and he got food, so he thought, okay fine, I'll let that go. Anyway, so green flags in play and interaction. So loose wiggling, what you want is loose wiggle body, like a snake body, you know, that I call it like the golden retriever Labrador wiggle, you know, the way their body moves. So there you've got the stomach moves and then the back end moves at a separate way. It's almost like a snake. Loose wiggling, the way your dog greets you when you come home from work, hopefully, is loose, wiggly body. That, happy body language, green flags. Mirroring other dogs. So when they see another dog and they copy what the other dog does, that's mirroring. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign, because it's showing I can read and I can respond. It's a good thing. Just being able to read and respond is so helpful, and it's great for human interaction and dog interaction. If they can learn to pick up between the dogs who want to interact and the humans who want to interact, then they're really reading and responding. Dogs who feel the need to leap all over other people or other dogs are not reading anything. They're not reading, and they need a lot more time, a lot more patience, and a lot more reinforcement in the calming signal area, so that they can learn how to self-calm and how to calm a situation and how to approach in a calmer manner. Because that prevents arguments, prevents being told off by other dogs, prevents people getting the hump with them, prevents them having to be held back. It's just much better. Slinky, Victoria says, yeah, like a slinky. That's what you're looking for, like a slinky. So that nice wiggle that you get, and you may see, I don't know if any of your dogs are a bit like Bosun, so he does what with like squinty eyes. So sometimes that can be a calming signal. I think his is because he's just woken up, because he comes wiggling over to me all squinty eyed like this, and it's really, really cute. And then we do like your wipey eyes thing and like hello. Lots of love for the puppy bog. But yeah, green flag stuff, slinky, wiggling, happy kind of wiggles. So if you're seeing that when your dog sees another person or another dog, that's a really nice sign. They're obviously happy, they're happy they've seen them. Red flags, let's talk red flags. So tighter movements, slower movements maybe. So they're either slow or very sudden, but they're stiff. They're not sudden in play, so you do get play suddenness, you know, like where dogs will stand there and they'll be like, are you ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? Yeah, ready, go. And then they kind of like run. Do you like the conversations I do between dogs? But they do, you can kind of see them getting ready and they eye each other up because they're mirroring, and then they rush off. So that is sudden, but it, blimmin' heck, I feel like they're coming through the door. So it's suddenness, but it's not stiff suddenness, and it's not staring kind of aggressive suddenness. So red flags are very, very tight body language. They're usually quite stiff, they're quite tall, there's a lot of staring going on. And when they move, it's like jolting towards another dog, or it's kind of like a suddenness to move away. If you're getting things like that, they're generally big red flags. Having to use a lot of warning signal initially, before even going to calming signal. You may find you're across a field and your dog spots a person and they go straight into warning signals. That is, their communication in the early stages of calming signals has been ignored or punished over and over again. And that has led them to believe that warning signals are the only things that work. Warning signals are the way to keep me away from that, or keep that away from me. So if you're getting warning signals straight away and there's no build up to it whatsoever, and you've been watching for it, and you're at a decent enough distance for the conversation to be able to be happening, then it's likely your dog needs a lot more support and a lot more help, because they are not comfortable within that situation. Now, you do get frustration. Frustration is very different, and it often can look the same, which can be difficult. You can get lunging and barking around on lead. You can get a lot of forward behaviour, but quite often it is not with the aggressionness. You're not getting the snarling going on, you're not getting the growling going on. You get barking, yes, a lot of vocal, and a lot of forward behaviour, but it's not aggressive. It just can look it if you're not completely sure what you're watching for. There's quite often dogs who I will see when I assess them, and they're lunging and barking forward, and I say, I'm not completely convinced that's aggression. I think that's more likely to be barrier frustration, because they can't get over there and they're getting annoyed about it. And there's certain breeds who are more predisposed to being like that as well. So yeah, your red flags, anything sudden, anything tight, anything either really slow or really rapid, not good things. Wow. So one other thing. We spoke earlier about shake-offs, about what they do is to diffuse social pressure. So if your dog has had a particularly stressful experience, or if there's been a lot of roughness going on, check and see where your dogs do this, because if you're noticing them do it more often, maybe a lot of dogs aren't keen on hugs and cuddles. We think they are, and we get them because we want to hug them, but they're not a teddy, it's a dog. And quite often that can lead to a lot of shake-offs and a lot of calming signals, which I said about. Have a look and see. Point out the times where your dog does shake-off. Reward them for doing shake-offs because they're good, they're letting go of stress, but keep in your mind, okay, the dog did a shake-off after that happened, therefore they're not completely comfortable within that. So can I do anything to change it? So I say hugs particularly because people do that a lot, and children do that a lot, and it's often how children get bitten in the face because they don't learn that dogs don't like it, and they don't know and they don't understand. So if you're seeing calming signals, certainly if you're seeing warning signals, and if you see shake-offs, watch it and acknowledge it and see what scenarios it's happening in.